Welcome back to the Screen Love Affair channel. I'm Brandon, and today I'm joined by my longtime friend, Bridgette. Bridgette Murphy is a Toronto iatse 667. I almost said 873 because that's where I work. She got to work on the movie we're discussing today, which is called Forbidden Fruits. And I'm really excited to talk to somebody that's not Shay or Adriana today. So without further ado, Bridgette Murphy.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Yeah, like you said, I'm second AC in Toronto. Have been for, oh my gosh, I think I'm coming up to 9 years in July, which is
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Like insane. It doesn't feel like that, especially like with the actors strike and the writers strike that happened. I guess that was 2 summers ago now. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it's been a wild ride. I'm always like shocked at how long I've been in the industry for. And
Yeah.
like college seems so long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, Bridget and I both went to Niagara College, so technically this is the first NC alumni only episode, first
Yeah.
guest episode in a while. So I was going to say, I guess to open it up better, because I'm always going on about being a set dresser and how unrewarding that is, when everything's deep background, soft focus, it doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
library books say, as long as you can tell there's books behind the actors. It's shot at like T1.5, completely
Mhm.
blurred out. I was going to say you should discuss what you do, because that is basically in direct relation to what I do in the blurriness of the backgrounds and etc. What's the second AC's technical job?
Yeah.
What kind of experiences have you had?
Well, it's always hard when you're, like, talking to non-film people how to describe our jobs, I feel like. So you'll know, obviously, what a second AC does, but I always tell people that I do the slate, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's so cool." I'm like, "But that's not everything." Like, I do a lot more. I'm running the camera department. I'm making sure the right gear is in. I'm making sure everyone's getting paid. Like, I'm doing everyone's timesheets. I'm in communication with the office, with transport, organizing everything. I'm making sure we have enough daily people in if we have extra gear and stuff like that. And then I'm marking the actors. I'm doing everything. Building the
Never-
camera, basically doing everything except operating the camera. I feel like that's what my job is as a second.
Everything but hitting record.
Yeah, hitting record and actually operating the camera, but I do hold the camera quite often because I'm, like, bringing it from one place to another.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a good little breakdown, because yeah, the amount of times where a lot of people who don't work in movies are just assuming like, oh yeah, everyone's a filmmaker. It's like, no, it's so departmentalized and so broken down that like every gear is a cog in the machine.
Yeah, and then in every department, it's also broken down even more. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. So, like, I guess that's a good segue to talk about it, because thinking about the movie the whole time, knowing that you shot it, especially, you actually got to go see this with like the crew, at least cast and crew,
Yeah,
maybe
well,
you got to do
just
like
crew.
a
Just
just
still doing,
crew.
like, press for it in, the States, I'm pretty sure, so it was just for crew.
Nice. Well, how is that? Because oftentimes we're talking about like the crummy theater experience of like just either nobody's there or like just the worst theater attendees are there. But I guess in your case, you kind of had the
Yeah.
basically friends and family screening where it was everybody who had stake in the game watching it back, seeing it on the big
Mhm.
screen. What were your thoughts on the movie, and what was it like seeing it with like the hundreds of people you worked with on it?
Well, do you wanna hear the whole story even before going to the movie? This is
Get
crazy.
into it.
So
Yeah, that's why we have the podcast,
so
long format discussion.
we had the screening at the Scotiabank Theater downtown, and that was the day. I don't know if you heard about those 2 explosions that went off.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was like last week. That's
I
crazy.
was Yes, I was literally walking out of the subway station, I heard, like, a loud bang, and then I was like, "What?" And everyone else just kept walking. I was like, "Well, it is Toronto, whatever." And then I heard a second one, and I was like, "Meh, whatever." And I'm walking, and then I just see, like, 7 fire trucks, just going down the street, and I'm like, okay." And I get there, and the police had already blocked off the main block where, the theater is. And so I'm texting some of my crew members who are already there, and I'm like, "Are you guys in?" And they're like, "Yeah, they're gonna start the movie soon." I'm like, "I can't get in." I found more of our crew members. We actually had to, like, Mission Impossible into the theater through the back doors, up, like, the fire escape stairs, and then I'm texting my operator, and I'm like, "Hey," I was like, "So we're here," and I, like, sent him a picture of it said Cinema 9, but it's one of those exits that doesn't have a handle on it on the outside. So I was like, "Can you come get us?" And he's like, 1 second." And then, like, a couple minutes later, one of the, like, ushers or whatever, he let us in. And then they did restart the movie because a lot of people were coming in late, which was really nice of them because it was mostly crew, and that's the thing, they didn't book out the whole theater. So there were a few random people in the theater, and we're like, the whole time, because we know the script, but
Yeah.
also a year ago, so I'm like, I've kind of forgotten stuff, but then as we're shooting it, I'm laughing because I just remember the outtakes or like how long it took for that setup or whatever it was. And there's like so many inside jokes so that when we see it, everyone is laughing except maybe the two other people are like, why these people, why is everyone laughing like crazy? Like, yeah, it's funny, but it's a little
If
over
it,
the
if it,
top.
if it makes you feel better, I saw it on a Tuesday night, midweek, thinking it would be dead, and the theater was packed, and I didn't quite understand why because I was like, I didn't think it was getting that much traction, but the reason being, I think the props master from the movie, I know this because she said this after, was there with probably like 10 or 20 friends and family of her own,
Oh,
bringing them.
wow.
To be fair, it was a Tuesday night cheap night, so I was like, what a better time than bring 20 people to the theater.
Yeah.
But the opening shots of the movie, as you probably remember, are like the Texas license plates on the car, like showing that they're in a mall in Texas.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because the two schools of thought were as soon as they did that shot close up on the license plate, the people behind us popped. They're just like, oh, yeah, woo, like screaming. And my
Oh,
girlfriend's like, yeah, I guess they're from Texas. And then again, if you don't know, the props department is the people that put the license plates on the car.
yeah.
They were just like, yo, that was me. I was there the day. I was the daily guy that put that plate on the car. Like, yeah. So I thought
Exactly.
that was crazy. At the end of the movie, they were all clapping and someone's like, she was the props master. I was like, oh, they're the props team. So it was funny. I kind of saw it with, I guess, people who worked on it. And similarly, it was like, yeah, the same like 10 people were like laughing at bits that weren't all that funny. And I was like, they probably worked on this. And
Yeah.
then I'm so glad I was validated. It's, I saw Whistle in theaters with my friends who did the set deck for that. We're the only four
Okay.
people in the theater when it came out on opening Friday. And same thing, it was like every establishing shot, you're like, oh, no way, that school in Hamilton, just like popping
Yeah.
off at every little beat. But yeah, it's a magical thing when you get to see it on the big screen because you forget that's what we,
Totally.
we do it for. I'm kind of jealous you got to see it with like your crew basically feels like a family after like, how many months were you filming this?
It was only 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Wow.
Actually, I think it was even less than 4 weeks. It was something like, yeah, it was less than 4 weeks. It was because the first week and a half, it was like daytime, I guess. I think it was about 4 weeks, yeah, because the last 2 weeks were full on nights and it was awful.
Yeah,
But
I bet.
I mean, worth it because it was a lot of fun, like great crew and the camera team that I work with, I've been working with them. I mean, I can't even count how many shows I've done with them, but like we usually try and stay together. So it's nice when you have people that you like to work with. Um, Especially when you're working from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, not a lot of
yeah,
people really understand that. It's like we film like what a page to 4 pages a day of like a
yeah,
90-page script. So it's like
yeah,
every day takes so much time and you have no idea. So it's 4 weeks and they shot that at like the Sherway Gardens
mhm,
Mall in like Etobicoke area. That's the same mall they shot Mean Girls at. And this
yeah,
movie it's definitely got a bit of a Mean Girls vibe. It's got a bit of like, The Craft vibes, like a little witchy, and there's some spooky magic happening that you don't know if it's fully real or not. That was kind of a neat little
yeah.
choice. What was that like? Did they basically like rent out a store and then have that as a full-time set? What was it like shooting in that mall for that month you were there? Like how open was the mall? Like what was the sets like as far as being a real mall in action? It must have been a really surreal experience having a full camera crew in an active mall, like a big one like that too.
Well, so what's interesting is that there's actually rules in the mall when I remember production telling us this that we could only shoot like in the actual mall part at certain times and we could only push our gear at certain times as well. That's so but all the interior shots of Free Eden, the store, was just a empty storefront that I don't know if there's anything in there now because I was actually just there a couple weeks ago, but I think it's still an empty storefront. But yeah, so they went in and they just made it this beautiful store. There was an upstairs too, and that's where the change room was and where they did the culty stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was
Oh,
so funky. I was trying to think how many single like boutique stores had a second floor in that
yeah,
mall, and I was
yeah,
like, must have been a decent sized space. Oh, I,
yeah,
I want to go find that space. I feel like I've been there dozens of times in the last year,
yeah,
like living in the city.
yeah. So that we did that for the like first two, or no, honestly, I think we were in the store at least every night, I wanna say, or every day. I think there was always a scene or a shot we were in the store, whether it was the upstairs or the main floor. But then when we did move to, I don't wanna say the exterior of the mall, but, like, the main section of the mall, that was nights. So that was 8 p.m. starts or 9 p.m. I can't remember. But, yeah, and so security was always there, but it was an empty mall, and it didn't feel creepy at all when you were there. Because also it's a nice mall, it's not, like, abandoned or anything, but
Yeah.
when we would be pushing gear or we'd have lunch like in the food court if we were in the main part of the mall, or we'd have it at Free Eden in the upstairs if you're in Free Eden. So when you'd be walking to and from lunch and everyone's kind of scattered, like you just walk around the mall, it's kind of creepy, like because some of the lights are off and sometimes they turn on, and then you'd like see security and you're like, oh, I'm here, it's okay, But it was a lot of fun, honestly. It was you really got used to doing the nights because it was 2 weeks of nights, straight nights, and so on the weekends, I mean, you didn't have a weekend. You'd have to keep that schedule because the next day or on Monday, you're starting again at 8 p.m. So that was a lot.
N-
But yeah, so basically, yeah, so we'd only shoot the daytime mall stuff at night. And so our DP, he would like that. And then we had background. Some of the stores would keep one employee or something to like have the lights on or to have the gate unlocked, whatever it was. And then the scene with the escalator, obviously, we
yes.
have this, I guess he's like an escalator guy because he had to, it was like almost like a choreography. Like we had to make sure the timing was right, that the elevator would stop and then reverse for when she's trying to run up the stairs, and then while Fig is also running the other direction. It's like it was this whole thing. And so like our I think the first AD, he had a walkie and the escalator guy had a walkie, and they're just like, okay, go, okay, now it stops, now it jolts, now it goes backwards. And so they're like trying to like, yeah, that took a while to figure out everything. But yeah, so there was employees sometimes roaming around. And then this is funny, when we'd be shooting out in the mall, when 8 a.m. would come around, I guess they open up the doors to the mall around 7, and that's when the mall walkers come. So like random people,
There was a shot with mall walkers in it, and I wondered, I was like,
random like those are just random mall walkers. I remember that was our last night because we shot the final scene, the final killing scene where Apple and Pumpkin are fighting.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I figured for the scene where she's drowning her in the fountain and they're fighting to the death, it was probably not like, an active food court like 10 meters to the left,
yeah,
but that's
yeah, so
fascinating.
yeah, that was in the I was in the night, but obviously, like, that was such a long scene because fight scenes always take longer, and so 7 AM rolls around, and there's, like, 1 or 2 mall walkers just, like, and we're like, "It's supposed to be an empty mall, like,
Yeah.
there's a, tornado warning," like, so we'd have to stop, but we're like, "Can you just stop walking for 1 second?" And there was this one couple that did the same route every single morning when we were there for 4 weeks, so pretty funny seeing them and having to stop them. But yeah, that one of those shots, those were just real mall walkers because they were just
That
there.
That's unreal. Yeah, I thought that was a nice little like establishing bit because like that's so real. And I did have that
Yeah.
thought watching the movie. One criticism I would say is like I felt like it was trying to be like a cult classic, like
Yeah.
mall rat kind of movie. As far as that goes though, like they did nail that vibe, but I just thought for 2026, 2025, whatever year we're in, it's like, malls aren't as thriving as they used to be. And I thought like, oh, this movie would feel slightly stronger maybe in some ways if this was like a 2001 mall or
Yeah.
something, and had that thought of like, oh yeah, do people still walk the malls, do teens still hang out the food court? Like I'm such an out of touch boomer now that I don't clock in. If anything, there's more boomers in malls, but
Yeah.
yeah, I did
You're
have
you're
that
mall
thought.
walking.
Yeah, exactly. They got their Skechers goes on and they're just beelining it. But yeah, I did think that was like really fun. And we were talking about the ending. I was going to ask you if there was any real studio sets or if it was 100% at the mall.
That was all at the mall. Even the exteriors
Wow.
was like the opening scene with the truck and like she
Yeah, the
throws
hot
the
coffee.
the coffee on him. That was also the mall. That was actually one of the entrances that's like the top parkade.
Yes.
Yeah, that was, I think, our second day. 'Cause our first 2 days weren't actually in the mall. Well, not in our, Free Eden set. The first day was actually the Yeast Garden restaurant. I forgot that it was called that, so when she opens the menu, when we were in the theater, I lost it. I was like, "I forgot it was called Yeast Garden." That's so gross. But that was our first day shooting that whole scene and also behind where Fig and Pumpkin are, like, discussing Pickle in that whole scene. So that was actually our first day. So that was during the day. That was like a regular call time. And then our second day was also a regular call time, because it was the opening scene of Apple. So, yeah.
Nice. It's like inside gags and stuff go like there's a lot of like little visuals in there, like again the Barbie as was it Jane
Jane
instead of
does.
Barbie.
Jane does.
Jane does instead of Jane Doe, and she's got like the spy glasses and stuff,
Yeah.
or the spy. I kind of found hilarious was like they're like, "Is this a recording device?" And they do like a close up on it. It's like glowing red out of her
Yeah.
breast, and you're like, I feel like that's pretty obvious, but I'm also like, it doesn't look like it could actually record like 4K security footage. So
Yeah.
yeah, I did find that fun, and like there's a lot of little beats, and as you're talking about like the finale of the movie, it like ramps up significantly as far as like gore and like the more of like traditional horror stuff. What was it like filming that? I'm picturing you clapping the sticks right before they're like, okay, and seeing 39C, and the girl's head gets bisected by the falling glass pane, or
That's
again the elevator scene straight out of Final Destination was
Mhm.
like a highlight for me for sure.
Yeah, I would say the longest death scene was probably Cherry going down the escalator because
Yeah,
there were
I bet.
so many literal moving parts, but then we also had to do all those inserts of, like, her fingernail getting stuck, and so we didn't do those on the yeah, that was so painful
Yeah,
to watch.
the hair, the fingernail, the high
Yeah,
heel. It was like, oh, so many
yeah,
moments where like, is she gonna get out of this?
yeah, so that was a lot. We shot, like, the main scene, um, obviously without any of the inserts, just, like, the wides and, like, the regular close-ups of, like, Cherry just, like, screaming for Apple. I think it was just one night, like, the main scene that took one night, and then the inserts took 2 nights because we just I mean, there's always, like, something happens on set, like, it's Murphy's Law. If it's gonna happen, it's just there was just, like, a lot of things that went wrong when you're trying to do those inserts of Cherry. Just,
Yeah,
like, the escalator insert thing that they had built just wasn't working properly, so then we had to come back the next night. Um, I'm trying to think because we actually brought my dad out because my dad's a camera operator, and so we brought him out to do, like, an insert unit, and so he did a lot of the inserts too, just for I think it was 2 nights he did because we were so behind because like, things just weren't happening. Like, it's a lot to shoot in 4 weeks. I'm honestly shocked but not surprised we did it in 4 weeks because that's just what you do.
yeah, yeah. Most features I've ever worked on are at least like 2 months of camera,
Yeah,
and that's with like controlled studio sets and not like again an active major mall. Like that's
yeah,
pretty impressive. I would have
yeah,
never guessed it was a 4 week shoot only.
yeah.
Like that's
I mean, it
huge.
was it was a lower budget movie too, so it wasn't like a huge budget. So I think that's why they also had it at 4 weeks. So back to like the death scenes and then the split with Fig, that actually took a long time too. Just trying to make sure the blood was right and like make sure the head would split properly, all that stuff. And I also like how they didn't add any real like post VFX to the head splitting because it looked very campy. Like
Yeah,
I liked
yeah.
it. Just you're like, oh yeah. um, that was fun to shoot. I mean, obviously there was so much blood. Like there was blood everywhere. It was
Yeah.
crazy. But also the mall was like so specific. They're like you can't have any blood on the floor. So we actually had to they had to like laminate the floor with like sheets of plastic, but also to still make it look like the tile so that the blood wouldn't stain the actual tiles.
Yeah.
It was a
Yes.
whole process, like, with the cleanup after and everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. I had that thought too because like with the 4 week turnaround, I get it now. But watching the movie, I kept having the thought of like, oh man, this finale is so fun and crazy. I wish they sprinkled a little more of that in. But again, if you're budgeting time, cleanups,
Yeah,
resets, and again, like when you talk about it, so many TV shows you take for granted the inserts. Like at least for me, I just did like an 8 month show, and the whole last month was just inserts, and it's everything down from like the kettle boiling and like the whistle blowing. And sure
yeah.
enough, the kettle that they filmed 4 months ago for this scene doesn't have a whistle on the kettle tip. But the director's like, it has to whistle. That's the whole point of the scene.
Oh,
So I legitimately went out, bought another kettle with a whistling tip to glue that on somewhere. And then when that was failing, I had a referee whistle, and they're like, it's not the same. And there I am, a nobody. And I'm like about
oh,
to say to the director, can you just get it in post? Like, can you just add the sound effect? And I didn't because I kept my job. But those are those things that get so stressful, but it's such a small, nothing
mhm,
part of like the in and outs of movie making, but it makes such an impact. And again, if you're filming all these like clean plates of like people getting murdered, or
yeah,
yeah, just again the blood cleanup, it everyone loves a good gory effect, but it's like
yeah,
it's like almost an hour on some turnarounds when it's like head splitting open and full limbs falling into wide shots. And
yeah.
yeah, so I wish there was a little more of it, but again, knowing the 4 weeks like shoot, I don't fault them. That's I can only imagine like a whole week of just getting inserts for stuff like, again, like hair and nails getting stuck in the
Yeah,
escalator or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, no, I definitely thought that was like, it went out on a higher note than I was expecting, because somewhere in the middle I
Mhm.
was like, where are they gonna go with this? How are they gonna end this? Like, it keeps ramping up the craziness.
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy, though, I wanted to say I am a longtime fan of Lily Reinhart, aka Betty from Riverdale. There's recently a movie of her that's it's on, I want to say it was like Tubi or Amazon, and it's her basically like being a content moderator for like Facebook, but it's
Alright.
her staring at a computer monitor going, "Oh my god, that's awful," for like an hour and a half. It's kind
Yeah.
of whatever. So seeing her in this, where she gets to play like a full blown mean girl kind of witchy vibe, I was
Mhm.
really bought in for her alone. But I was going to ask you, this is like the fangirl question. Like, did you get to talk to her at all? Did you get to meet her, or was it
Yeah.
more like that
I
professional
mean
thing where you're like a Cadillac Escalade apart? Is what I always say.
I mean,
Like,
I'm always trying to be professional,
yeah,
but I also have a rule where I treat everyone the exact same on set, no matter if they're like a grip, electric, actor, producer, you know. But no, she's really nice. We did the week before, like we had prep, which was I think it was 4 or 5 days of prep, and one of those days was like a makeup lighting test. And so she came in, and like, she's so beautiful. I saw her, and I
yeah,
was just like, wow, she's so
yeah,
pretty. I was like, and we just did like a lot of like close up, kind of fancy, and they just had her like doing very like mean girl kinda like it was like a little model photo shoot for her, but not even photo shoot, like a model, like, video shoot. It was so fun, and I met her there, and then on set, obviously, you know, I'm, like, with the actors right there when you're the 8 camera second. So I always introduce myself to all the actors just so that they know me, because I'm putting a slate right there. I'm, like,
yeah,
at their feet marking them, telling them, "Oh, by the way," like, sometimes I have to tell them if they missed their mark. Not that that
yeah.
happened in this movie, but, you're like, "Ooh, just so you know, like, come a bit closer because like, my focus pull," or whatever it is, or
Yeah.
just be like,
Hey, I know
"Oh."
you had this moment where you're like screaming for your life, but you took half a step too far, and the focus was a little soft,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Be gone, peasant."
Yeah,
Obviously
yeah.
not them, but like I've
Thankfully,
seen it happen.
thankfully, I don't really have to do that part, but if like, when the stand does come in, um, then and I've moved their mark, I'll just be like, "Hey, just so you know, like, during rehearsals, we did move you, like, a foot to the right. Here's the mark," kinda thing. Yeah, she was really nice. She's very professional, and she's a really good actor. Like, watching her, I love getting to see the actors perform, like, raw, because there's no editing, there's no music, there's no nothing behind it, and it's just them acting, and I think she's a very strong actor. Like, the switch up, you never knew when I felt like Apple was gonna be smiley or if she was gonna be
Yeah,
pissed.
yeah,
And that scene where I forgot, like, again, like I said, going to see it in the movies, remember it was like a flood of memories coming back to me, but the scene where she yells at Cherry and she's just like, "Yeah," or whatever, like, I can't remember what she said, but just screams. I remember, like, jumping because when we shot that, I was like, "Holy shit." I was like, "Yeah, she's scary." Like,
yeah.
she's
She
good at
can bring
playing
it.
scary.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny because like to out myself as a former Riverdale fan, there's like a whole arc where she does like Dark Betty, like I think she like
Okay.
wears a wig or something, and she just is like now just being a total see you next Tuesday. This is like Dark Betty turned up a notch. Like I'm enjoying this. My girlfriend who's never seen Riverdale is like, this is just like that episode season 3 with anyways. Yeah, I adored that. Also, such a guy take here, like the movie about the attractive women that work at the mall. They did that full topless scene with Cherry, and I was like, more than halfway through the movie, I'm like, oh, they are going for a more like kind of sexual vibe here, because I was like, they're not really getting into the gore until like the
Mhm.
very end, and they're not doing anything overly scandalous. Like, there's a few. This is like such a pig take. Like, there was a few nice ass and thigh shots, but they really didn't linger on it as much as I thought they would for like the really attractive cast and roster that they
Yeah,
had on this. So, do you ever find it kind of like awkward, or like obviously you're professional, but is there ever a moment where
yeah.
you're like clapping the slates on a close up in front of nipples or something, and you're like,
Oh,
oh, yep,
no.
just another day at the office?
Very professional, Brandon.
Yeah,
No, because nowadays, like, you have to have an intimacy coordinator on set, and so we had an intimacy coordinator, and I communicate with her because I wanna make sure the actor feels comfortable. I wanna make sure I'm feeling comfortable to be able to do my job. So I communicate through the intimacy coordinator, and I was basically, especially because 'cause I'm also in charge of video. That's another part of my job. And so, like, part of Video Village, and so she came up to me and she said, "Only the DP monitors and the director monitor can be on. Everything else needs to be shut off. And like I would show her, be like, "Yep, this one's off. This one's off." And she was like, "Great." And then I said, "Every time you're doing a nude scene or sexual scene, the actor's covered up. I'll go in and slate, and then wardrobe or whoever goes in takes it off, does like a final touch up, make sure they're okay, and we're usually the intimacy, I guess it's now the intimacy coordinator will go in and take the robe or whatever it is." So, I didn't actually see anything, completely
Yeah.
forgot the nude scene until we saw it in theaters. Because then I looked at my camera at the time, my camera trainee, I looked at her, I was like, "I totally forgot, like, I didn't even know it was a fully nude
Yeah.
scene, like, I had no idea."
It also came out of left field. Like I can only imagine the script too was like, Cherry confesses to Pumpkin in the change room, and which is like a theme in the movie. Like they're
Mhm,
always doing a confessional in the changing room.
mhm.
So like if you're just reading the script, you're like, oh yeah, she's just having another girls' chat in secrecy in the change room, and then yet, like a viewer who would like completely like lost hope of any full frontal nudity. It was just like randomly she just turns around topless, is like, what do you think? And you're like,
Yeah.
oh wow, we're 45 minutes in, and I finally got something I didn't expect anymore. So I always thought like, oh, I wonder what that was like filming, but like you said, it was probably just
Yeah,
another day and kind of
it's
right
another
between there.
day. Honestly,
Yeah,
like, I mean, like I said, I've been doing this for 9 years now. I've shot so many nude scenes that it doesn't faze me anymore, and plus, like I said, like, I always wanna make sure that the actor feels comfortable, you know? 'Cause, obviously, we have closed sets, and people are always like, "Well, that doesn't make sense because everyone else is gonna see them on the big screen anyway." I'm like, "Yeah, but they're not performing in front of you on the big screen, like, this is live, you know?" That's why monitors get turned off, like, they put up covers or whatever around a tent around the monitor, whatever it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I always do find it fascinating when there is like a sex scene in a movie or a TV show, and everyone's on set, and they'll close the set for like the private scene, and you go from having maybe like 30 to 40 technicians all kind of hovering around with the action to like five or six, but then
Yeah.
there's always like 100 people just sitting in utter silence just outside the like in the darkness waiting to hop in.
Yeah.
And you forget, like, if you don't work in it, that it's like, oh yeah, there's literally 100 people just hanging out in the shadows, like with a walkie ready to run in or do their job for that 5 minutes. So it's yeah, it's a miracle, but yeah, it's such a funny abstract world to just, like you said, exist in every day, working overnights. It's yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah, I love it, but yeah, I'm also not on set. I feel like I could never do the full commitment to the 12, 13 hour, 14 hour, go, go, go filming
Yeah.
process. I'm so lucky I just kind of set and forget. And, here's your movie set. Looks good. See you later. I have like one like main question to close out
Mm.
on, but I was going to say, was there anything else that you like really stood out to you, either when you're watching it and you're like, oh my God, and you totally forgot about it, or any like, I don't know, inside crew jokes, any shout outs you want to like get out of the way?
I mean, we always had fun. It was, like, in between setups and stuff, the director, Meredith, she would play music, like, the music that the girls wanted to listen to, and so it was usually, like, Lady Gaga. It was very, like, to the movie, so
Yeah.
they were just, like, blasting music, and then I'm, like, trying to do my job, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm dancing," you know? Like, it was yeah, I just remember how fun it was. Even working overnights and, like, 12 hours, it was honestly so much fun because I think at a point you just kinda get delirious, and so everything
Yeah.
becomes more fun.
Yeah, exactly. Y-
And, I mean, and I had such a great camera crew, and it's actually the same camera crew, we're moving over, we're starting a new thriller horror feature in May, so I'm excited for that. It's, like, the exact same camera team, which is fun, and same
Nice.
producer. But anyway, so yeah, it's just, like, I don't know, it's great. I mean, shout out to my camera team. I don't know if they'll ever watch this,
Yeah.
but they're the best, and yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, I do remember a funny story, which I can tell it, I guess. Yeah, it's fine. But so the scene where Apple pulls the scarf from the table and all the items
Oh
stay.
my goodness. Yeah.
So special effects did a great job of, they basically tied a bunch of fishing wires onto, I don't know exactly what they did, but fishing wires onto the items on the table, and then they were drawn out far away enough so they weren't in the uh camera shot, and then I think it maybe was like a couple strings just to hold everything in place, that when she pulled it nothing moved. So it's a while setup. It took probably like half an hour for them to tie every little piece. So while they're doing that, we're shooting something else. And like, so they're doing this, and then someone walked through the strings and
Oh my
knocked over
goodness. like a spider web of special effects strings and had no idea. It took a half hour during, which again, for like a reset during the day, that half hour is like the producers are probably just sitting there being
Yeah.
like, that just
Oh
cost
my
us
gosh.
$2,000.
Man, everyone was just like went silent, and then there was just like a groan. Like everyone was like, you
The
know,
person that
because we
walked through it too, that's so brutal
oh,
for
I
them.
felt
There's
so I
no
can't remember who it was
recovery.
or the department. I'm not gonna say because obviously I don't want to be awful. But yeah, so then we were all just like, okay. So then they put like cones around it and everything to just so people could see it. But I guess,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you're offset for a bit and then you come back and you don't know what people are doing, but
Oh yeah, and the lighting's always so like you go in from like bright daylight outside to a dark studio where there's like one corner expertly lit, and it's like, yeah, those safety cones are actually like a lifesaver. It's probably more so that guy's fault for not having the cones down from the
yeah.
jump. I can only imagine just like the I feel like I'm just making it worse. Like, the secondhand embarrassment must have been unbearable.
Yeah, it was like the middle of the night too. So I think I started laughing. I had to walk away because I started laughing because I honestly like I was so delirious at this point and I thought it was hilarious. And I was like, wow, of course that would happen, after
Yeah,
that amount of time. So funny. But no,
no, it's
it was
unreal.
honestly, it was so fun to work on. Like it was very campy and it felt like we were at a camp, but in a mall, you know?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
yeah.
I would imagine too, this kind of brings me to like the final question, as far as like when the ending happens and there's kind of this, big identity shift where she leaves Texas to go to Scottsdale, Arizona, to go to another mega mall. She
Yeah.
gets welcomed in by, what was it? It was like
The flowers or whatever.
the flowers, yeah,
They were
instead of
all
the
flowers. Yeah.
fruits. Yeah, yeah, it was the flowers. It's like basically it's implying she's now going to go to a different coven with a different naming system for the same kind of sketchy, shadowy corporation boutique women's fashion store.
Yeah.
Again, fun vibe. I appreciate the vibe of the movie a lot for that. But it definitely is like what I'm calling like sequel baiting, where it's like, oh, where
Mm,
does this go? As somebody who worked on it and as somebody who saw the movie with like again a great audience of people who also worked on it, A, do you think there's a sequel? And B, what do you think it is? What do you think it will touch on, expand on? Do you have any?
I
Because there's
don't
also that reveal of the detective at the end who was actually the
yes.
store manager. She was like a, what do you call it, like a cameo basically, because you never see her to that very end. And she's
Yeah.
also like somebody that's been in this kind of genre of like,
Mhm.
teen mean girl movies and stuff. And I just thought that was like, to me, it went over my head. I had to Google it after, and even now I'm blanking on the name. But I
I
did think like, wow, they're really doing the sequelitis, where they're really trying to be like, there's going to be
yeah.
more of this vibe.
I don't think I mean, I haven't heard anything. I don't think there would be a
Yeah.
second one. Um, but a quick story, what's funny is we actually didn't know who was gonna play Sharon, like, halfway through the film. And so they
Yeah.
just an actress to, like, have the feet or the hands there, and I think, like, our first AD, our script supervisor just read the lines, and then in post, obviously, had that actress say the lines. And she only came out for 1 day, and, like, we shot her
Wow.
scenes and yeah.
Yeah, I kept wondering, because I like at the reveal at the end, I like it was lost on me. I had to, again like look it up afterwards, but I kept thinking like, oh, they were definitely trying to get like Lindsay Lohan or somebody from like Mean Girls to do it. I feel
That
because
would
it's
have been
like,
amazing.
yeah, right, because like that would have been like unreal to have the exact same mall, then have somebody
Yeah.
from that like again series franchise come back in
Mhm.
for that little cameo. Because yeah, it was such a, it felt like almost like an Avengers level cameo at the end, where instead of Nick Fury to recruit Iron Man, I guess that's pretty much everything that I could think of as a fellow Toronto film technician. But I'm so jealous you got to see this with a full crew, a
Yeah.
great
Well,
experience,
not
and
full
then
crew, only some crew showed up.
only the cool kids that were willing
Only
to
the
risk a
cool
bomb
kids,
threat
yeah.
to go see the movie. That's the real takeaway. Yeah, I can't believe that, because I saw in the news is like a big fire broke out on Richmond Street, and I was like, oh no, not next to the Scotiabank Theater. That's one of our
Yeah,
good ones. That's crazy. Like, oh my goodness. I was like secondhand giddy about this because like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I know somebody who got to like be on the ground floor and see like the filming of this. Like
yeah.
the mall walker story kills me, that there's some old couple. It's like, oh
I
Janice, look, it's
know.
the film technicians again. They're back. Like
Yeah,
they're probably so lonely the day after you wrap, being like,
I
they're
know.
gone.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
you know what's funny is that because we were shooting right by a coffee shop that was there. I think it was like the Turkish or no, sorry, the Danish coffee shop. And so I would go in there before my shift every day, and they started to know me. They were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
you're working on the film," and they'd give us free food, like free snacks, because usually like bakeries throw stuff out at night, and
Yeah.
they'd come over to our free eat-in, and they'd bring us a box of pastries.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow, they were just like Pumpkin bringing the Salt
Yeah.
Sisters pretzels in, and yeah, you
I
were
didn't even think of that, but yeah, it
yeah
is like
yeah
that.
you were the metaphorical fig, and they were the
Ooh,
pumpkin trying to grease the wheels, be like, hey, give us a little
I would
cameo, you know.
I'd totally be Fig. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally be Fig. Yeah, Fig was probably the most relatable. Again, like
Yeah.
I probably have like a different breakdown discussing it, but like yeah, I definitely felt like relatability wise, it was like Fig seemed like the most level-headed normal one as far
Yeah.
as the dichotomy of the group went. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was
Yeah.
a great little Canadian showcase, and yeah, so stoked to see Lily Reinhart working. I always say she's kind of like Glenn Powell, like the pinnacle of like girl next door, very attractive. Glenn Powell's the pinnacle of like the most like built man that is perfectly
Yeah.
proportionate to me. But I feel like every time they do a movie, kind of mediocre, but like they're
Mm.
great. And I just my hope is like they both get a movie maybe together, and then it's a classic, because I feel like they're great actors that keep like carrying movies that maybe don't necessarily land for everybody, and I want them to just to get that, Top Gun. I mean, Glenn Powell was in Top Gun, but get like that big
Yeah.
cultural role that everyone's like, oh, they were great in that, so
Mhm.
yeah. But anyways, thanks for joining me. Thanks
Yeah,
for
thanks.
talking shop, and yeah, this has been a nice break from the usual monotony of talking about movies ad nauseum. I always joke that we become like Redditors discussing Letterbox, and it's nice to have a more blue collar film technician vibe to the podcast, which I'm always advocating
Yeah.
for. So
Well,
yeah,
when the new movie comes out, I'll and you
yeah,
if you see it, but I can't see too much about it. I'm not even gonna say the name just in case of anything, but
no big
yeah.
deal. Just gotta sign my NDA. Like it's not
I
not
do.
not a
I haven't signed the NDA yet, so
yeah
I'm like, "Well, I shouldn't say any." I mean, I don't know much about it. I just know when it's starting, and
yeah
that's literally it, and that it's a
yeah.
thriller horror, so
Well, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you
yeah.
see you at the mall. See you on set. Yeah, I bet you have a bit of mall sickness after that movie, eh? No
I
desire to
honestly
go back.
I've been back to Sherwood Gardens more than I'd like to admit.
Great promo for that. Yeah, I always
Yeah.
find whenever I do like a Christmas movie, people who don't know, Christmas in Toronto is all year long when you're a film technician. It'll
Mhm.
be like July, and they'll be putting down fake snow mats on the lawn. So I always find myself finishing a Christmas movie in like April and being like, oh my God, I'd never want to see Christmas again.
Yeah.
So I feel like you might have had that with the mall, where you're just like, but then again, Sherway's kind of hard to beat. It is one of the nice ones. So close to
It is a nice
IKEA.
mall.
Yeah, that's so good. Anyways, well, yeah, thanks for listening. And if you like this, check out our other podcast reviews, and hopefully we'll get more behind the scenes technicians and whatnot ahead. So thanks, Bridget, for coming out.
Thanks
And
for having
yeah,
me.
see you on set. Talk to you later.